Irvin, Brunch with Amy. Those two are joined by Runaway Kitten in the blue on the outside and two more to Blue Fashion. Less than a half mile to go. Bonacqua in hand, in command. Corposo still a length away second. Then Queen Gervin third, followed by Brunch with Amy, moving up steadily, taking the third spot. Another two back to Blue Fashion and Runaway Kitten. It is Bonacqua and Corposo coming to the quarter pole together. Bonacqua narrowly in front, Corposo pressing the issue. These two are dominating. Brunch with Amy is in third, followed by Blue Fashion. They're at the top of the stretch, and Bonacqua is asked to run. Corposo and Bonacqua nose to nose inside the final eighth of a mile. Corposo takes a slender lead. On the inside, Bonacqua fighting bravely, but it is Corposo with the upper hand. Bonacqua digs in. Corposo, Bonacqua, here's the line. Photo finish between those two. What a horse race. They went around there and battled all the way to the wire. Corposo and Diego Herrera, Bonacqua and Flavian Pratt hit it together. In the gate. And they're off. Dedois gets the first call. Nesso's Last Hurrah has too much speed, though, and takes the lead. Mr. Big Bucks on the far outside. Maximum capacity, Beer Money. Compact, 3 lengths covers them. It's Nesso's Last Hurrah and Hector Barrios the leader. 3/4 of a length, Dedois in second. Then Maximum Capacity, Beer Money is close up in fourth, just 2 lengths off the lead. And Mr. Big Bucks is on the outside. 3.5 furlongs to go. Nesso's Last Hurrah tries to let it out of a notch. Leads by 3/4 of a length to Dedois. Down at the rail, Beer Money right there in the thick of it third. Maximum Capacity dropping back fourth. And then Mr. Big Bucks. They have passed the quarter pole with Nesso's Last Hurrah racing well off the rail. At the rail, Beer Money trying to rally. Dedois on the outside. They're in the final furlong 2-horse race. Nesso's Last Hurrah and Beer Money. Nesso's Last Hurrah, though, is still loaded at the 16th pole. And this will be a no doubt about it victory for Nesso's Last Hurrah, who wins by 3.5 lengths. Beer Money was clearly second best. Dedois third, and Mr. Big Bucks. In the gate. And they're off in a bad stumble for Hero Status, who will face an extremely tall order after that. It's My House. Here's Flying Drummer. Push through along the inside. These two hook up right away. And it will be It's My House and Flying Drummer dueling for the lead. Ginobili will be off the pace today. He's 5 off the leader. And that leader, It's My House, sprints clear coming to the 6 furlong pole. Hero Status is 4th, 6 off the lead, and another half dozen to Oviatt Class. They get strung out. Moving on to the backstretch. It's My House is the pacemaker, leading a length and a half. Flying Drummer sets up to his outside in second. 2 more Hero Status and Ginobili, and another half dozen to Oviatt Class. They have a half mile left to travel, and It's My House is the controlling speed, the long shot leader heading into the far turn. Flying Drummer, a length and a half back second. Ginobili now makes his move. There's Ginobili into third and moving up, pushing the hand of Flying Drummer. So Flying Drummer will make his move as Ginobili is off his flank, and they're right up to It's My House. Coming to the quarter pole, Ginobili and Flying Drummer go on with it. At the rail, It's My House is back to third. Oviatt Class starts to gain some momentum at the top of the stretch where Flying Drummer has the lead. Opens up 2 pretty easily on Ginobili. Now it's 3 and it's lights out. Flying Drummer is going to dismantle this cast easily. Flying Drummer, close to 10 lengths when the smoke clears as Oviatt Class comes to complete the exacta. Flying Drummer all alone. Oviatt Class, Ginobili, Hero Status. Stopping a tray to the outside. They're in the gate. And they're off. Billy's Bet is going to the front. Stopping a Tray has speed. Worst Reed Sanchez. Hard Mission fourth. Derecho Dandy and National Genero at the back of the field. Billy's Bet sets the tempo. Leads it by a length. Stop and a Tray close up. Hard Mission along the inside. Right there in the thick of it early with 6 furlongs to run. Just behind them, Worst Reed Sanchez is the gray. Derecho Dandy and National Genero. Onto the backstretch. Giovanni Franco and Billy's Bet just about a length over. Stop and a Tray, a tracking second. At the rail, Hard Mission remains close up in third, and Worst Reed Sanchez fourth and 2.5 off the leader. Another 3, National Genero opts to go outside, and Derecho Dandy is down at the rail. They're covered by 5 lengths. It's been a pretty easy lead for Billy's Bet, who goes into the far turn a length in front of Stop and a Tray, who's called on trying to cut into the margin now. He's within a half length with less than 3 furlongs to run. Worst Reed Sanchez. Then at the rail, it's Hard Mission, who's lost some ground in fourth. Here's Derecho Dandy getting into the race, 3 lengths off the pace, and National Genero is the trailer. Billy's Bet has been overhauled at the top of the lane by Stop and a Tray. Derecho Dandy is starting to warm up on the outside of Worst Reed Sanchez. There's an 8th to run. Stop and a Tray clear by 3. Derecho Dandy chasing gamely into second. It's Stop and a Tray, 3 lengths past the 16th pole. A nice run from Derecho Dandy, but it's just not enough to beat Stop and a Tray, who beats Derecho Dandy, Worst Reed Sanchez, and Hard Mission. Casino at San Manuel as your destination for gaming excitement. As the closest resort and casino to Santa Anita Park, you're sure to experience Alice. They're in the gate, and they're off. Trouble in Paradise has very sharp early speed. Here's Storm Doro along the rail. These two hook up with Black and 2 off them in third. They're followed by Family Trips fourth. Then Keep Your Coil, Red Cap 6 off the lead. Vela is next. A break of 3 to Irish Wahini, inside La Paloma Blanca, and Dallas Alice is the trailer. Less than a half mile to go, and it's Storm Doro leading a length and a half, tracked intently by Trouble in Paradise second. 2 more to Family Trips on the outside of Blackened. Vela is next. Irish Wahini is down on the rail, still with a lot of work to do. 7 lengths off the leader as they come toward the quarter pole. And it is still Storm Doro. Trouble in Paradise has had a beautiful trip alongside the challenge. Now Irish Wahini is getting going. White blinkers on the inside of Vela. And Irish Wahini hugs the rail. And there's a wide open hole. And here's Irish Wahini and Tyler Bays just coming right through, taking command and waving goodbye at the 16th pole as Vela moves into second. It's Irish Wahini by 3. Vela is second. It's going to be Irish Wahini. Tons the best. Vela second. La Paloma Blanca got up for third in front of Trouble in Paradise and Storm Doro. They're in the gate. And they're off. Atomic Drop sprints quickly. Mark's Hip hustled hard for early speed. General Mathis sits off them in third with Don't Swear Dave. And B Catcher is at the back. The pace is honest around the clubhouse turn. Mark's Hip shows the way with Atomic Drop, a length and a half behind in second. Perfect trip for General Mathis, Swear Dave, and B Catcher. 6 lengths covers them, 5.5 furlongs to go. And it's Mark's Hip just in front. Leads a length and a half, almost 2 over Atomic Drop in second. Still 2 more to General Mathis third. Then Don't Swear Dave and B catcher is at the back as they come to the half-mile pole. No change in the running order. Mark's Hip has it by 3. Atomic Drop in second. Now, Contreras all over General Mathis, trying to get him motivated. He does respond within 4 lengths of the pace. Another 4 back to Don't Swear Dave, and a long way to B Catcher. Single file rounding the far turn. Mark's Hip and Kyle Frey have been there throughout. A length and a half to Atomic Drop in second. Don't Swear Dave becoming a huge threat. And then General Mathis has flattened out. They're at the top of the stretch. It's Mark's Hip trying to hold off this big bid from Don't Swear Dave. And Don't Swear Dave at the 8th pole is right to Mark's Hip. They come to the 16th. Don't Swear Dave takes over. Mark's Hip trying his best, but he's second best to Don't Swear Dave, who wins a length and a half under Mario Gutierrez. Mark's Hip was second. General Mathis third, and then Atomic Drop. And they're off. Mystic Flyer goes to the lead on the whim up close. California Tiger sprints up in between them, and Nauvoo showing that natural speed, and he's called on and struts his stuff to take over. So it's Nauvoo to sprint away, leading it by 2. California Tiger is in second. Just behind them, Mystic Flyer, a slight steady there. And inside of him, it's City of Angels in the orange colors. On the whim, 3 deep, 3 lengths off the lead, followed by Barely Functional, inside Brazenly, and Speed Grazy at the back, 7 off, front-running Nauvoo, who went past the 5/8 pole in front by 2.5 lengths. California Tiger is second in front of City of Angels. On the whim, Mystic Flyer between those two in some traffic, trying to get out of there, followed by Brazenly, who's widest of all on the outside of Barely Functional and Speed Grazy. They head toward the 3/8 pole. Nauvoo, the leader, but being swarmed in now at the rails. City of Angels has a shot at him, and City of Angels makes a big bid on the inside to take the lead right away from Nauvoo around the far turn. Barely Functional is following City of Angels to the quarter pole. California Tiger brazenly swooping up on the far outside, and Speed Grazy has surfaced as well. They're at the top of the stretch. City of Angels, Barely Functional angles out. Mystic Flyer coming through along the rail, hugging the fence with Speed Grazy in the center of the racetrack. Barely Functional takes the lead. Speed Grazy on the outside, and City of Angels Barely Functional clear, and it's Barely Functional. 2 for Redham and Mario Gutierrez. Photo for second, City of Angels, Speed Grazy were in that photograph, followed by Mystic Flyer, and then another photo between Nauvoo and Brazenly to complete the super high five.
Hi, everybody, and happy Beholder Mile Day. We've got an excellent 9-race card for you. 3 of those races are stakes races, including the Grade 1 Beholder Mile. Todd Pletcher decided to ship 2 horses out here out west, but also trainer Richard Mandella has 2 in the race. And speaking of the Mandella family, look who's sitting next to me. He was with Beholder for every start of her 28-race career. She won 18 of those, incredibly enough. His name, Gary Mandella. Gary, happy Beholder Mile. Welcome to the seminar.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate
When I say the name Beholder, Gary, what comes to mind first?
her presence, her presence, and probably everybody sitting out there thinks I mean her physical stature because she was such a large filly. But she, even if she was only a 15-hand horse that weighed 850 pounds, her presence was something that you knew she was standing next to you without ever seeing her. And some horses are just kind of that way. And she's maybe the best example over the years that I can think of just being able to feel her confidence from her and the way that she projected it in a way that's hard to describe.
She had many spectacular races, but perhaps her swan song, her last race before retiring, was the 2016 Breeders' Cup Distaff. You might recall that race was a showdown between Beholder and Songbird. Songbird broke from the rail, Beholder broke from the outside. Let's go back down memory lane and watch the replay of the 2016 Breeders' Cup Distaff and listen to that track announcer Larry Colmus describe the action.
Ready for the start. They're off in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, and oh, Stellar Wind did not break at all. She had a very slow start as Mike Smith sends Songbird to the front, and Beholder is right there, and I'm a Chatterbox is going to put some pressure on now, too. And then it's Carolina Way running in 4th position. Landover Sea is next. Stellar Wind, who just did not come out of the gate well at all. It's about 6 lengths off the lead with the Argentinian Corona del Inca alongside of her. Forever Unbridled is last, and Songbird leads the way through a 23-1 opening quarter mile. A solid first fraction for her, but she's in the clear as they race onto the backstretch. I'm a Chatterbox is running along in 2nd position onto the backstretch run. And then comes Carolina. Beholder on the outside is 4th. She's now 4 lengths off of Songbird up the backstretch. It's another 2.5 to Stellar Wind. And Victor Espinoza has her 6 lengths off the lead right now. Then Landover Sea, Forever Unbridled, and Corona del Inca. So it's a 47 flat half for Songbird. Very easy for her as she continues her journey into the far turn with a length lead. I'm a Chatterbox continues to pursue in 2nd. Beholder has not moved yet. Gary Stevens has not asked her to go as of yet. Now he's starting to ask just a bit, and she's a length and a half off of Songbird, 3rd in the far turn. Songbird is taken on now, and here comes Beholder, and a confrontation of champions as they come toward the top of the stretch. I'm a Chatterbox trying to cling to them. Stellar Wind's got work to do. Songbird and Beholder, and they're into the stretch, and here we go. Songbird set down. Beholder is alongside. Forever Unbridled is 2.5 lengths behind them. Furlong to run. Songbird, Beholder, they are nose to nose. This race living up to its expected power as they come to the wire. They're nose to the park. It's Beholder. I think she got her head down on the wire. Songbird, dug and gangling all the way. The 2 of them right together. And then came for it.
Gary, when I watched that replay earlier this morning, it sent chills down my spine, I should say. And I can only imagine how you feel. Before we get your reaction to watching that replay, and I'm sure you watched it many times in the past, Beholder holds the record for the most stakes wins at San Diego Park, more than any other horse. She won 13 stakes races here at San Diego Park. She won 4 Eclipse races. She won 3 Breeders' Cup races. Of course, she beat the boys in the TVG Pacific Classic. I mean, they just don't come along like that very often, do they?
An absolute throwback, as well as very much deserving to live in the category of one of the great modern female racehorses as well. And, you know, to realize that she owns the record for most stakes won at this track in this era compared to back when horses used to run so much more often. And she's still able to do that. And that race is the accumulation of not only a career of greatness, but you have to remember she was the 2-year-old champion and she could do kind of anything. And she maintained that through the years. But at the end of her career, the best way for me to describe it to you is you remember the Dream Team videos from the '84 basketball team?
Of course.
And you'd see those scrimmages with all those guys, Magic and Bird. But where was Bird? He was never in the scrimmages. He was laying on his belly because his back was killing him and he barely was able to. her back started hurting her towards the end of her career. And you remember she ran a couple races that weren't quite the old Beholder. And then she ends on this note with, just like she always was, Songbird testing her as hard as she could, and she still was able to persevere. And it's just a very special career.
And the silks we saw were B. Wayne Hughes. And what a sportsman he was as well, right? He's kind of a throwback as well. He wanted to continue to race her. She was very valuable as a broodmare well before that replay we just watched. But he wanted to see her campaign on the racetrack, and she vindicated or validated his opinion of how special she was.
No, he did. And the game owes Mr. Hughes a tremendous amount of gratitude for the support that he gave it all over the years, everything he's done with Spendthrift Farm, all the great racehorses that he campaigned, and just one of the true salt of the earth people you were ever around in your life. And had some really special memories with him, and I miss him a lot.
On a different note, your dad runs 4 horses today, 2 in race 7, 2 in race 8. And as handicappers, we always look at not only the equines, but the humans. We see her decked out in a real snazzy suit. I think that means that there's positive expectations coming, at least in one, if not both of those races for your barn today.
It's a grade 1, and it's named after Beholder. You have to dress the part today. You can't be too relaxed.
He not only dresses the part, he talks the part as well. We're going to find out who Gary likes on today's spectacular 9-race card. But before we do any of that, let's toss the microphone over to track announcer Frank Miramati and get the minimal amount of scratches on today's card here at the Great Race Place.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Santa Anita Park, the Great Race Place. The track is fast, the turf course is rated as good, and the rail on the turf at 0 feet. Here are the early changes. In the first, there are no changes. In the second, no scratches or jockey changes, just a blinker note. In race 3, scratch number 5, Cantaro d'Oro. Race 3, take out the 5. There's no super high 5 wagering in race 3. In the fourth, we start the $1 pick 6. And please disregard the workout for number 1, Vlahos, on January 3rd. Disregard that. Turning to race 5, it starts the all-turf pick 3. The all-turf pick 3 $3 wager is on races 5, 7, and 9 today. And it's the start of the 50-cent late pick 5. There are no changes in the 5th. The 6th is the grade 3 Santa Isabel Stakes. Start of the late pick 4. Race 7, the San Simeon Stakes. Scratch number 1, My Numero Uno. Number 1, My Numero Uno, out of the San Simeon. 8th race, the grade 1 Beholder Mile, is the start of the Golden Hour pick 4. Scratch 7, Kirstenbosch, and scratch 8, Turner Loose. 7 and 8 out of the Beholder Mile. And in the 9th race, Golden Hour Double will start. And we just have the blinker no. Saturdays and Sundays, keep in mind we have a first post moving tomorrow to 1 p.m. So starting tomorrow, first post moves to 1 p.m. with the time change. Coast to Coast pick 5 wager. is offered on Saturdays and Sundays. Today's begins with Gulfstream's 9th at 106, about an hour and a half away from the Coast to Coast Pick 5. Player-friendly, 15% takeout, $1 minimum wager. Enjoy this great card of racing here at Santa Anita Park. Post time for the opener is in 58 minutes at 12:30. Remember, first post moves to 1 p.m. starting tomorrow. Let's go back to Quigley's Corner and resume the seminar. Tom's special guest today is trainer Gary Mandella.
Welcome back. We're talking horses with Gary Mandella. He's the son of Hall of Fame trainer Richard Mandella. And as you can see on the screen, we're back on the turf course today. All races remain on the turf. The turf course listed as good as the main track listed as fast. Beautiful day here in Arcadia, California. Gary, good, excellent 10-race card, I should say, today on tap. You've done the work, so let's dive into it and see who you like and the reasons behind it. And we kick things off sprinting, the abbreviated sprint distance of 5 furlongs in the turf course. This is a starter allowance race for runners that have started for a claiming price of $25,000 or less, either last year or this year. The rails today are at 0 feet. Also, race 1 begins the 50-cent early pick 5. We've got a field of 7 in the lid lifter. Number 4, Gimme the Loot from the Kristen Mulhall barn, is the 5-2 morning line favorite. One of many good races on today's card, Gary. How'd you see it?
It is a good card. And the first race is an interesting change of pace. I don't know that I've noticed a 5-furlong turf race
I don't think there has been one this meet.
So
correct.
There's some good races to play where there's some favorites I think I can take a stand against, which I haven't had the last couple times I've been on with you. I felt a little chalky, honestly, the last couple times.
You got to play the cards that are dealt you.
Well, it is. Yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. But these starter allowance races, to me, are great races. A lot of, because you're pulling horses out of certain claiming levels, rising, dropping, coming out of maybe A other than sometimes, and you got to piece together exactly where these horses are going to fit, as opposed to a standard allowance race where 5 of the 8 come out of the same allowance.
Correct,
race.
or a traditional claiming race.
Right, yeah. Which is true as well, unless horses are really moving around. You talked about the favorite, Gimme the Loot. Hard to knock a horse that's won 2 of his last 3, only beaten a length and a half last time in a nice 32. I thought the class dropper for Bob Hess off the layoff was interesting here. Number 5, I was hoping it was going to get a little more value than the current 5-2 on the board to make a top pick here. But I thought Bob did really well with this horse after he claimed him off Doug O'Neill in the fall of last year, gave him a break, doesn't run him back for a tag, finds a place where he can protect him and see what he can do. And he's very effective at the 5-furlong distance, as she's shown in a couple recent races as well. So I think this horse is kind of tailor fit for this. Having been around Bob for as long as I have, I know he's well aware of whether this horse is fit enough to run or not. So I've got a lot of confidence in that. And I think he's a good alternative, albeit not giving you a 20-1 shot, but a good alternative to the favorite, who wouldn't surprise me. Give me the Loot, the 4.
Fair enough. 5 and 4 to kick things off in race number 1. So says trainer Gary Mandella. Let's turn the page. Take a look at race number 2. Look at this field size. A field of 10 in race 2, sprinting 6 furlongs in the main track. $16,000 claimers, non-winners of 2 races lifetime. Race 2 begins the 50-cent early pick 4. The morning line favorite is on the bottom, number 10, John Dunbar, taking a drop down in class for trainer Steve Miotti. 5-2 on the morning line. Flavian in the saddle. When Flavian's in the saddle, that usually means go. Talk to us about race 2, Gary.
I'm going to hope that attracts too much of the attention here, because the last race just wasn't very good at all. It wins 2 back, and that race probably wins this by 4 or 5. But I'm trying to figure out what happened in the last race, and because of that, I'm going to try to look elsewhere. Richard Baltus recently returned to the Santa Anita training ranks. Jose Valdivia, always been kind of an underrated rider. I think the 4th Thrust can make his presence felt here. It only got beat 3 lengths going a mile last time. Now let's turn back to a sprint. What did he do the last time he ran around 1 turn? He broke his maiden pretty nicely. Yep. So yeah, I think this is an interesting horse if we can get a price on him. And also Golf Drama, raising up, but 3rd off of the layoff, not raising up, excuse me, improving. Just ran okay the first time. Nice effort last time out to just be beaten a length. Comes back in the same spot with an extra 1/2 furlong, which probably would have helped last time out. Jerry Franco having a nice meet. I'm going to go with these 2 over the favorite in the second.
There are some questions about the favorite, John Dunbar, in race 2, as you mentioned, Gary. Not just the bad performance last time out, but a lightly raced 5-year-old who only has 4 career starts, and also the drop down in class. Typically, at least from my standpoint, if trainers are raising a horse up in class, I prefer to see that rather than a drop like this. It's almost like the for sale sign is out there and come and take me if you want to take a chance.
I can make the devil's advocate argument from having been there, though, that the equibase chart callers don't always catch all the excuses that there are in a
They
race.
got a lot going on, right, in their defense.
And if a race looks really bad, but you go down there as a trainer, you talk to the jock, and hey, this is what happened, or maybe a horse lost a shoe, stumbling, leaving the gate, things like that.
His tongue.
Sometimes you get back to the barn, you get a little bit selfish and greedy, and you realize, this horse ran so bad, I can run a legitimate 32 for 16, get a win, and no one will claim him because the last race looks bad. And you do that as a trainer to make yourself win races.
Of course. Race number 3.
So we don't know.
We don't know. That's the beauty of the game. Race number 3, we're back sprinting on the turf course. This time 6 furlongs is the distance. It's a maiden special weight race. Field of 6 after the scratch of number 5, the Maury Lane favorite, number 4, Prosper from the John Sadler barn. First time out was on the main track. This effort is on turf. Big expectations. They paid $1.7 million. What say you about race 3, Gary?
I like the surface switch. I do. Out of a Tappet mare, City of Light was by Quality Road. I think there's a lot of reason to think that this colt, who did show a good amount of speed first time out, will get a really good trip here with Flavian Pratt and like the turf course as well. This race didn't come up quite that strong, so I don't think that from a player's perspective it's the most interesting race on the card today. I think this is a solid favorite, and Prosper will show his stuff today. And Michael McCarthy's given you kind of an obvious one with the 3 Logan's Red Falcon. John Velasquez was in town the last time. His other horse, Heart of the Night, who ran a very good second, but he puts Velasquez on the first-time starter, not the horse he just ran really well with. I think telling you he's trying to put John on the best horse. So those 2 horses make a lot of sense and not the most value of the day.
Great to see Johnny V in town for the day to ride. And as you can see, when him and trainer Michael McCarthy team up, at least over the last 18 months or so, they hit it at a 24% win clip with a large sample size. Race number 4, another full field of 10, which begins the $1 pick 6. This time we're sprinting 6.5 furlongs in the main track for maiden special weight 3-year-olds. Bob Baffert has 2 in here, including the Maury Line favorite on the bottom. Number 10, Winterfell, ridden by Juan Hernandez, 3-1 on the Maury Line. At least on paper, Gary, this seems to be, to me, perhaps a down the road, very productive race, because there's well-bred, expensive type of runners in here. I think we're going to see some real productiveness out of this race going forward.
I agree with you. That being said, I think it's probably a case of the same old. 3-year-old maiden special weights, 2-year-old maiden special weights.
Look in the dictionary.
Bob's got the hard hand, the hot hand in all of these, and Winterfell draws towards the outside, which is probably going to be an advantage for Juan Hernandez. He can dictate and do whatever he wants depending on the break. If you wanted to, you can make an argument that this is an arrogant that may want to run a little bit further. But he's out of a forced Wildcat mare. There's plenty of zip coming from that part of it. 12-2, he's dead fit. That's likely your horse to beat. If you want to try to take him down as the horse that I think will be the favorite in this race, a lot of people like to go the other Baffert. But I happen to notice that he didn't have a 3/4 breeze in terms of distance.
Ball don't lie.
And usually his due, and 6 Canada Gate, sorry, and usually his due before they run. And I wonder if that horse is maybe of the 2 of his in here, the one that's maybe in here needing a race, not Winterfell. The guy that's had an amazing run lately with his maiden special weights is Mark Glatt. And so his horse, the 8, Santorina, I apologize if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but here's a son of Omaha Beach, so obviously
You're a little biased.
I'm going to be a little biased here, but Mark Glatt stats in these maiden special weights have been terrific lately. And if anybody can take down Bob in a race like this, it's a guy that's going as hot as Mark Glatt is in these situations, and he's been given the tools here. Nice breezes, nice pedigree, might be sitting on a live horse here.
Gary, a question for you, talking about number 8, Santorina, and as you mentioned, sired by Omaha Beach. If you were to have progeny of Omaha Beach in your barn, would that be a competitive advantage? In other words, did you know the different quirks that he had? And do they typically, racehorses, pass down those tendencies to their progeny, or not necessarily?
I think what you're speaking about counts more if you train the mother. Mm-hmm. I think horses get a little bit more dominant characteristics from the mother than they do the sire necessarily. Can it help you? Yes. As a handicapper, people outside, I'm not sure how much stock I would put into that. That's maybe a reach a little bit too far, unless you're doing something similar to what you saw happen with a sire. In other words, if a trainer had a horse, started him out on dirt, moved him to the turf, and improved leaps and bounds, and now you're seeing that same trainer do the same thing with progeny of, that's maybe the wheelhouse you want to fall into. But by and large, I would handicap that angle on the dam more than I would the sire.
Race number 5 begins the 50-cent late pick 5. It also begins the $3 all turf pick 3. I expect both wagers to pay handsomely today, and we kick things off going 1 mile on the turf course for fillies and mares, allowance optional claiming types, non-winners of one other than. A field of 9, number 6, first time in forever on a 2 or 3 race win streak is the 5-2 Maury Line favorite. Leonard Powell, Frankie Dettori team up. Talk to us about race 5, Gary.
We shouldn't have to accept a filly coming out of a starter allowance win streak into an A other than as the favorite, but this race came up a little bit soft in terms of the overall talent that California usually has. It's just a little bit on the weak side. This filly is the favorite, and she's a deserving favorite. She's on a roll. Frankie knows her very well. She can be forwardly placed, but she doesn't have to have the lead. If anything, if she's going to be vulnerable, it's going to be if Frankie's a little too patient on her, and I'm not saying he's going to be, but maybe this is the kind of race that's wide open to somebody stealing it, is what I'm wondering. And as much as I like first time in forever, the 3 Irresistible Force is an interesting wild stab at a long shot, because this filly took a few races to get good for Jay Neff, who's got a very small stable, put it all together and won very impressively, needed to go onto the bench and have some time off. But a race back, she only gets beat a couple of lengths going 6 furlongs. And do we wonder if long has always been in the cards for her? Today, she probably gets the right setup. She gets the benefit of being a long shot, which means if she ends up there on the lead, she's not going to get the kind of pressure she would if she was 3-1. She's more likely to get left alone. Drayden Van Dyke knows how to nurse horses along on the front end, as we all know. Mendelssohn being related to Beholder. There's just, hey, would I sell that to you on a 2 to 5 shot? You know that I wouldn't. But if we're going to legitimately get 20-1, right, those things, you get a bit more of a sense of humor for stuff like that, right?
I sure do. I'm all ears, as a matter of fact, at that price. But you're right. Obscure trainer, relatively, what's the word I'm looking for? Drayden doesn't get many opportune mounts, so to speak. So if this one is live, you're going to get every bit of 15, 20-1, and you make a case. Pace makes the race. Stranger things have happened out on the racetrack.
I'm telling you.
You are telling us. Race number 6 is the first of 3 graded stakes races on today's card, and we kick race 6 off with the grade 3 Santa Isabel Stakes, going a mile and a 16th on the main track for 3-year-old fillies. Also, race 6 begins the 50-cent late pick 4, field of 8. Maury Line favorite number 4, Kinza, undefeated in her first 2 lifetime starts. 4-5 on the Maury Line. Here's that guy Baffert again. Can you beat him in race 6, Gary?
No. The least interesting race from a handicapping perspective on the card. I just don't see it in any way, shape, or form.
You saw enough after she beat your filly last time, right?
I absolutely did, and I'm still not happy with her about it.
But you do give a little bit of a look, at least to maybe round out the exacta with the rail filly from the Timyak Teen Bar, number 1, Ultimate Authority.
If something unforeseen is going to happen, mishap out of the gate, so on and so forth. Ultimate Authority, I think, is the second best filly in this race. I think she's got a right to keep improving. I like the steady progression from race to race to race. Flavian Pratt, with Copion's defection, gets to stick with her, and he knows her. That's going to help. Going to save ground from the inside and just kind of sit just behind Kinza, just in case she happens to be vulnerable. She'll get first run. You never know what happens in a race. So you talk about her a little bit, but Kinza has done nothing but show that she's very, very special and one of the leaders in the Oaks division right now. And I have no reason to think she won't just do more of that today.
You don't know this filly personally, but number 1 Ultimate Authority, who we're talking to as we look at the past performances, Gary, just a general question for you, particularly from a handicapping standpoint. You can see in career start number 2, not only does she stretch out and just miss by a head, but she also added Lasix. She's used Lasix now her last 2 times and earning buyer speed figures of 90. Today, because it's a stakes race, she's off Lasix. Should that be of any concern to handicappers?
I haven't noticed anything with this, to be honest with you. And as handicappers, you're not aware at all as to whether horses are bleeding after races or not. That's something trainers know, and it's not made public. So you truly can't handicap it the way that it should. And to be perfectly honest with you, Timyak Teen almost as well as I do.
Very cautious.
But if she had bled in that race or in workouts, knowing that to run in a graded stake you can't use it, he would have picked out another spot. She's eligible to an A other than, and you can use Lasix in an A other than. He'd have her in there, and keep doing that. Wait until she's a little healthier, and then try a race without Lasix. So I think you can have faith in it from that perspective and not worry about it too much.
Very good point. That's why we have you on the show, Gary.
The other thing you have to remember, and here's a good reminder for handicappers, that as a trainer you have to keep all of the rules and regulations in your head at all times. And you look at a filly like this, and you have to realize, okay, she ran the first time without Lasix, then added it. That's not because she bled the first time or at least you can assume, it's not necessarily because she bled the first time and needed Lasix the next time. It's because of the dates. She opened up as a 2-year-old, and then as a 3-year-old, we can use Lasix on horses. And so therefore, it's something that as trainers, we have a comfort level with using on horses because so many of them bleed just a little bit, and we like to protect them from it.
Sure.
So when we can, that's fine. None of us have complained about not using it in stakes races because no one can use it. So it's fair across the board either way. But just know that this might not necessarily be a case where a trainer added Lasix because it was necessary medically, just took advantage of the way that the rules are. And it adds an extra layer of protection to keep a horse from bleeding, which can then, after they bleed the first time, can become a chronic thing afterwards.
And that's the bottom line, making sure that the horse's welfare is always at the top of your mind. Race number 7 is the second greatest stakes race on the card. It's the Grade 3 San Simeon Stakes. We're coming down the hillside turf course, 6.5 furlongs down the hill. Scratch to 1 leaves us with a field of 8. Here's where your dad has 2 runners, number 5 Sumter and number 7 Lane Way, who's the lukewarm 3-1 morning line favorite. Before we get your thoughts on the race, Gary, I want to watch a replay that 4 of these runners exit, including the winner Iridio and also number 3 Mucho del Oro. In this replay, you'll see Mucho del Oro breaks from the rail and sets from the pace and gets tagged late. Sumter was also in this race, looked kind of dangerous mid-stretch and then kind of backed up a little bit, but that was just his first race back since mid-November. Let's listen to Frank Miramati describe the action of the Clocker's Corner on Super Bowl Sunday and listen to and watch Iridio win at odds of 20-1.
And they're off to a beautiful beginning in the Clocker's Corner. Hamwood Flyer is very quick, but Mucho del Oro is even faster, and these two hook up right away. Johnny Padres is in third, followed by Standing O with the white blinkers, fourth and 4 lengths off the lead. Daniel's Magic is next, racing on the inside of I'm a Gambler with Sumter outside of that pair, and Irideo will do his best running later as they have less than a half mile to go. And Hamwood Flyer sets the pace, has a 3-length advantage on Mucho del Oro in second. Johnny Padres is in third, followed by Standing O and Daniel's Magic at the rail. That group followed by I'm a Gambler, Sumter inching up outside of him, and Irideo looking for some racing room with a 1/4 mile to go. Hamwood Flyer, Mucho del Oro on the outside, and Hamwood Flyer come past Clocker's Corner, 1-2. Sumter in the center of the course. Irideo dives down toward the rail, then Daniel's Magic. It's Mucho del Oro. Now a late run from Irideo, who's really coming fast. Mucho del Oro, Irideo, Mucho del Oro, Irideo. Here's the line. Photo finish. It's too close to call. That is so tight.
Gary, that performance of Mucho del Oro, he hadn't been seen in the afternoon since June of 2023. He ran a bang-up race just to miss by a nose. We saw Sumter kind of loom up there mid-stretch. Lane Way, your other dad's runner, hasn't been seen since early December down at Del Mar, but we know that he likes this San Anita turf course.
He does.
Really good race. Talk to us first about both of your dad's runners and how they're doing.
They're both doing very, very well. And to get people to ignore the graphics for a second, because I have to be political. This isn't a first and second choice, but both these horses are going to run great, and it's going to be a dead heat. So I'm not choosing between the two of them the way that it's going to display. Sumter, not only was that his first race off of a layoff, it's his first race off of being gelded. And we've seen a better attitude from him around the barn. And I do think that he's getting better every week. So I think you have a right to expect Sumter to even improve off of that race. And Lane Way, I don't have to tell you about. He really, really enjoys the San Anita turf course. He's one of the best turf sprinters in the entire country, despite what the Breeders' Cup Committee thinks, and they've left him out of the turf sprint for 2 years in a row. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Sorry, I shouldn't have done that. But he really is a cool horse to be around, and he settled into this turf sprinter role later in life, and it's a lot of fun because he's got a lot of personality around the barn. Loves his peppermints, so it's tough to talk about the race apart from those two because they're very interesting horses to us. To try to take a step back, I'll ask the question of you, since you're more of an independent handicapper in this race. Iridio, just not him personally, not the connections of him. Horses that take forever between wins. How often do you bet them to win 2 in a row?
Not often, but one thing that does concern me.
So he's a little of an underlay.
But he's proven on the hillside turf course, which I think is important. But again, I would rank him lower down the scale than some of the horses you previously mentioned.
I certainly don't want to take 2-1 on him if that's the way the odds board is going to go, right?
I'd much rather play Sumter and Lane Way. We know Lane Way's going to take action. Sumter had a little bit, like you said, a bit of a hidden trip there. Unless you watch the replay, the PPs really don't tell the story.
It's not really obvious, but it's there, and I do think he's going to continue to get better over his next couple starts.
Speaking of not real obvious, your dad has 2 runners in race number 8. That goes off as our feature race on the card. It's the Grade 1 Beholder Stakes, $300,000 guaranteed for fillies and mares traveling 1 mile on the main track. Race 8 also begins the $1 golden hour pick 4 sequence. I also should mention up at our sister track, Golden Gate Fields, they have a 50-cent late pick 5 carryover of $22,000. So as the afternoon winds down, make sure you pay attention to our races as well as those up north. But in race number 8, we've got 2 scratches here. Scratch both 7 and 8. Morning line favorite is number 2, Adair Manor from the Bob Baffert barn. Hasn't been seen since Breeders' Cup weekend. 5-2 on the morning line. Your dad has 2 runners. Number 1, Coffee in Bed, as well as the runner on the bottom, number 9, Window Shopping. One more replay to watch, Gary. This is going to be the replay of the Grade 3 La Cañada Stakes, won by Desert Dawn. Coffee in Bed finished a really good second. What I want you to watch as we're watching the replay, guys, is in the far turn, Desert Dawn is in the clear on the outside. Mike Smith is in between horses. Doesn't have such a clean trip. Desert Dawn beats Mike to the spot, but yet Coffee in Bed runs really, really well. I think he's very live at 15-1. See if you agree with me as we listen to Frank Miramonte describe the action in the Grade 3 La Cañada.
And they're off in the La Cañada. Coffee in Bed, here's Musical Mischief and Midnight Memories with that natural speed, sprints by them to take the lead. Midnight Memories, Musical Mischief will be prominent in the opening furlongs, and Musical Mischief on even terms with Midnight Memories takes the lead now. Coffee in Bed tucked in 3rd, followed by Desert Dawn 4th, 3 lengths off the lead, and Signorina Marisi is at the back. 3 lengths covers them, 6 furlongs to run. Musical Mischief narrowly in front, with Midnight Memories a half length back in 2nd. Coffee in Bed between horses. Desert Dawn is 3 deep, and Signorina Marisi on the fence past the 5/8 pole. It's Musical Mischief leading the way by a half a length. Midnight Memories and Juan Hernandez 2nd. A length and a half back to that same lineup of 3. Signorina Marisi at the rail, Coffee in Bed between them, and Desert Dawn in the blue. Heading to the 3/8 pole, Musical Mischief has been there throughout, but Midnight Memories is right to her. And now there goes Desert Dawn. The new leader, Midnight Memories, 5/16 out. Desert Dawn coming to her on the outside. Musical Mischief at the rail, trying to stay with them. Coffee in Bed is 4th, which has 2 to make up. Desert Dawn sprints up on the outside of Midnight Memories, and these 2 come to the 8th pole with Coffee in Bed in hot pursuit in the center of the track. Desert Dawn puts away Midnight Memories. Coffee in Bed rallies into 2nd. It's Desert Dawn and Flavian Pratt in a superb performance, winning the La Cañada by a length and a half. Coffee in Bed lost nothing.
Gary, great ride by Flavian on the winner, Desert Dawn, and nothing lost in defeat by Mike Smith on Coffee in Bed. Just got beat to the spot. A daughter of Curlin, second off the layoff. She ran a career best 90 by her speed figure. I expect her to improve. I actually like her a lot today. Am I crazy?
No, I don't think you do. If you throw out the Autumn Miss, which was an experiment on turf, her last 2 races are very, very good. She's developing late, getting better all the time. And today she maybe gets a better pace setup than she really got in the La Cañada, where getting first run was more valuable. Adair Manor, we know what she likes to do, but now we have the new 2-turn shooter in the Mike McCarthy filly, Sweet Azteca. We've got a filly coming out of a 7/8 race of Todd Pletcher's in Green Up. Adair Manor, we talked about a filly coming out of a much smaller barn, going to be 20-1, so she's going to get left alone on the front end, and how that price that's going to be hanging over her head will work for her in terms of the tactics. Adair Manor is the opposite. Everybody knows if you're going to try and win this race and not ride for 2nd and 3rd, you've got to put some pressure on her, or somebody's got to, and it's going to have to be you if your horse can. Otherwise, she's just going to walk around there. She's won 6 times over this racetrack. She loves it here. So if more than one of them go to put pressure on her, then you have to start looking towards horses that can make up some ground. And then fillies like Coffee in Bed, Window Shopping, who employed the same tactics to win the Summertime Oaks here last summer, and she's training like she was back then, and makes us think she might put herself in a position where she can do the same thing. that's a way to make this race a very interesting handicapping event, and maybe try to make yourself some money.
Speaking of interesting handicapping events, what about the nightcap tonight? Race number 9, back again sprinting, 5 furlongs in the turf course for maiden special weight Calbred 3-year-old fillies. Race 9 also begins the $5 Golden Hour daily double sequence. Similar concept to the Golden Hour pick 4. Last race here with the last race at Golden Gate. A full starting gate of 11, highlighted by the morning line favorite number 4, Jane Kende from the Phil D'Amato barn. 5-2 on the morning line. Has had 2 chances at 6.5 furlongs. Now shortens back to 5. Give us a winner to close it out, Gary.
It probably is as simple as Phil D'Amato in a turf sprint in the last race. I'm maybe,
don't overthink it.
I'm maybe going to feel a little foolish, but I had good notes on Breezy Blue at the yearling sale. And I kind of liked her, not as like the sales topper, but like, if this filly falls through the cracks, it might just take a shot with her. And I didn't end up doing it. But over the years, Adam Kitchingham will fire with first-time starters. If an Air Force Blue is going to prove you right, they're going to be a turf horse, much more likely than a grass horse. Jose Valdivia, sneaky good rider, and particularly so on the turf, drawn towards the outside, at least in the outer half of the, so, not going to get shoved on the inside and get intimidated. Probably could end up with a really good trip. If Jane Kende is kind of a hanger, because she's been right there in a couple of races and she can't seal the deal, maybe a long shot can come into play here. And Breezy Blue, it wouldn't be the first time we've seen Adam fire with a first-time starter that you could bet on if you just had a little faith in.
Plenty of price opportunities on today's card, including Gary's top selection in the nightcap. Number 7, Breezy to Blue, 12-1 on the morning line. As if that wasn't enough betting action for you, keep in mind on weekends, we also offer the Coast to Coast Pick 5, linking races here with races at Gulfstream Park. Today's Coast to Coast Pick 5 offers all stakes races. All 5 are stakes races from both Gulfstream Park and Santa Anita. It begins with Gulfstream Park race 9, I believe around 1 o'clock or so Pacific time. So make sure you get involved with that wager. Also, another reminder as we're looking at the Pick 5 graphic, make sure you spring forward tonight, Gary. I know the cell phones do that automatically, but as a
trainer's nightmare.
That's your worst nightmare.
You don't get enough sleep as it is. You got to take another one.
You got to turn your clock. I got bad news for you. You got to turn your clocks 1 hour ahead tonight. But the good news is, at least from a handicapper standpoint, we can also show up a little bit later because post time tomorrow, Sunday, is 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, which it'll be at that hour going forward the remainder of the meet. Gary, thanks so much for your time, energy, insight, all of the above. It was great walking down memory lane with Beholder with you. Also, best of luck to you and your dad today with the forerunners you have. You're a credit to the game, and I love having you on the seminar.
Thank you, Tom. This is always a lot of fun. Thank you for having me on.
It really is a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed it as well, everybody. Next voice you hear, big track announcer Frank Miramati, updating us when the late changes. Have a great time on Beholder Mile Day. Make some money, and good luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem. afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Santa Anita Park, the Great Race Place. The track is fast, the turf course rated as good, with the rail on the turf at 0 feet. Here are the changes. There are no changes in the first race. No scratches or jockey changes in race 2. In the third, scratch number 5, Cantaro Doro. There's no super high 5 wagering in race 3. The fourth race starts the $1 pick 6 on races 4 through 9. No changes, other than the disregarding of that work on January 3rd. Disregard that work for number 1, Vlahos. In the fifth race, we start the late pick 5 as well as the $3 all-turf pick 3. There are no changes in the fifth. The sixth is the grade 3 Santa Isabel Stakes. Blinkers on number 5 as noted. Seventh race is the grade 3 San Simeon down the hill. Scratch number 1, my numero uno. The eighth, the grade 1 Beholder Mile. Scratch 7, Kirstenbosch. Scratch 8, Turner Loose. 7 and 8 are out of the 8th, the Beholder Mile. And in the ninth race, it's the blinker note. The Golden Hour pick 4 starts with the 8th. The Golden Hour double starts with the 9th. Golden Hour wagers combine Santa Anita Park and Golden Gates last 2 races. Every Saturday and Sunday, we're happy to offer the low 15% takeout, $1 minimum wager, the Coast to Coast Pick 5. This one starts in about an hour at 1:06 with Gulfstream's 9th race. There have been incredible payoffs, even a carryover on this wager that is very fan-friendly with a low 15% takeout. It starts in an hour at Gulfstream. Combines races from Gulfstream and Santa Anita Park. The Coast to Coast Pick 5 has proven to be a very popular wager. Enjoy your afternoon at the Great Race Place. We are 25 minutes away from the opener.